All right, welcome back to Africa Business Radio. It's our Friday edition. Sometimes we like to refer to it as Lifestyle Friday. I'm Bimbola Oyale. So we're going to go into a discussion right now. When we say it's tax season, or you hear the words tax calendar, what does it mean to you? And how much do you know about your taxes, filing and remittances, and everything in between? Well, that's going to be the crux of our conversation this Friday morning. On the show, we'll be asking and answering questions about taxation, and we have in the studio experts who will do all the job while you and I, listening, will just do exactly that. We'll listen. I'll be working the console and I'll let the experts speak. So, in the studio, we have Mr. Ayodeji Mustapha. Is a senior tax associate from Taxiade. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And Emmanuel Ugwuanyi, also Taxiade senior tax associate. Good morning.
Good morning.
And finally, Jeenifer Ezediaro, a tax associate, also from Taxiade. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, welcome to Breakfast Connect. So, let's start the question in a general overview of the tax space in Nigeria and what it entails. Who's going to help us out with that?
Yeah, good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. My name is Ugwuanyi Emmanuel. I'll be helping out with that. When you are looking at general tax space, I want to discuss general tax space in Nigeria. You'll be looking at the totality of the tax administration in Nigeria. So we'll be taking you through the tax space in Nigeria. So when you are talking about tax space in Nigeria, you have to discuss it in three categories. One is the federal taxes. Then you have the state taxes and you have the local taxes. So these taxes are collected by different authorities. So each authority or revenue authority collects their own tax according to the law. So for these taxes, they have been broken down and each jurisdiction knows what and when to collect. So for the federal taxes, which are collected by federal government, but through the Federal Inland Revenue Service, includes the following. They have the company's income tax, which are paid by companies that are both resident in Nigeria and non-resident in Nigeria. You have the education tax, which is also paid by companies that are both resident and non-resident in Nigeria. Also, we have the value-added tax, which everyone knows, that are also administered by federal government through the FRS. Then we have the withholding tax that are also administered by federal government. We have other taxes like the transfer pricing. We have other ones like the common reporting. We have other ones like country by country, which are all types of taxes and procedures that have been administered by the federal government. Apart from the federal government, the states also have taxes they administer, which includes the payee, which is meant to be paid by every one of us that are in the employment of any company or self-employed. So for those that are self-employed, they are meant to pay their payee or PIT to the state government where they are residing. Then we also have the withholding tax. The states also collect the withholding tax for individuals and unincorporated entities. So in any state you are residing, you are meant to comply with this tax or face the attendant penalties. The local government is not left behind. They also administer their own taxes at their local level. So, like we know, we have their radio licenses, we have the kiosk, we have the slaughter slabs and all the rest. So, the law have made it clear and everyone knows what to collect at each point. And I can say that basically these are the tax space in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I'll have to ask Jeenifer this question. If you can briefly run us through the Q1 2021 tax calendar with an emphasis on the taxes filings that are due in that quarter.
Okay, thank you. So for the Q1, I think every taxpayer, every tax responsible person's mind should be heading towards the payee and PIT filing. The payee filing is due January 31st.
Payee is pay as you go.
Yeah,
pay
as you earn. Yes, pay as you earn.
PIT is
personal income tax. So yes, the payee is actually the responsibility for pay remittances and filing of the payee is due on the employer. So for example, this just states different companies. Companies are the ones responsible for filing and remitting the payee deducted on behalf of their relevant employees, which must be remitted, like my colleague said, in the relevant individual's residence. So, for example, even if you work in Lagos, but you are resident in Abuja, your company has to deduct the relevant payee and remit to the FCT IRS. That's the Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Service. Same goes for any employee in Ogun State and so forth. So that's for the payee. Like I said, it is due for filing before the 31st of January. In this case, 31st of January 2021. So right now, we're in December. Every employer's mind should be, okay, I need to prepare and ensure that I file for all my employees before the 31st of January. Why this is important is because, like my colleague also said, there are penalties due on failing to do so. For a company, a corporate body, failing to file before the 31st of January makes you liable to a sum of about 500,000. Yes, so it is very important that you file before the deadline. And then for the personal income tax, that is actually due before the 31st of March of 2021. So this is for the individuals. You are a photographer, you are self-employed, whatever the case may be. You are a non-corporate body. And this is also for the directors of companies. You are treated as a high net worth individual in an individual. So you are your mind should be, okay, 31st of March, I need to get ready my filings, I need to make sure that I file. If not, you are then liable to a 50,000 naira sum penalty if you fail to file. So yeah, that is just the cost implications. Thank you.
Okay, that question and the response actually has a lot of other things, especially for those who are not salary earners, like the photographers, and maybe those in the entertainment industry. It's I don't know. There's I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, to capture people like that, because figures show that quite a number of them are still not captured under the tax net. And it's something that we're, like I said, before we started, that if this were, under other circumstances, this conversation, will go on for like 2 hours. But
definitely.
For the sake of our time. So, what is the cost of non-compliance of taxes? You've both mentioned, that there are penalties, to this thing. And how do you avoid, these penalties come 2021?
Okay, so like I explained earlier, to avoid these penalties, you just need to file. There's no two ways about it. You will be found out. So you just need to file. Like I said, for the individuals, the penalty is 50,000 for non-filing. For the payee remit filing, which is for the employers, penalty is 500,000. So aside from payee and the PIT non-remittance, we also have failing to remit your withholding taxes, your failing to file for your value added taxes. Though these are not filing obligations, the emphasis for Q1. So obviously I'm meant to file your VAT on a monthly basis. So when I mean emphasis for Q1, I mean, for example, you know that CIT filing is actually due, I think, 6 months from your accounting year end. So where you are faced with the Q1 for a company income tax filing, when you are faced with if your mind is in that space for company income taxes, you just need to count back 6 months. That's when you know, okay, I'm liable in the Q1 for company income taxes. And then going further than that, the only way to avoid it is to file and just ensure compliance in totality.
All right. So, Mr. Mustapha, what are some of the efforts being made to improve the automation and the automation of tax assessment?
All right, thank you, Bimbo. If we look at our Nigerian system in terms of taxations, both at the federal level and the state levels, in the time past, I think the system that had our revenue authorities run is analog systems, where people need to queue in the tax offices because they want to pay or they want to file. But as we can see, in terms of assessment, specifically, none of the relevant tax authorities have been able to come with solutions to that when it comes to automation in terms of assessment, but specifically when it comes to in terms of ease of payment and ease of filing. I think Lagos State actually started that in 2 years ago for ease of filing to actually reduce the stress from the relevant taxpayers. But in terms of the assessment, specifically, none of those tax authorities have been able to come up with that. But I'm very sure, very sure that the processes are already in the pipeline, because as at now, FRS has a kind of software we call Promas that enables you to in terms of getting your payment receipt and all those stuff. So, but I'm very sure that they are working towards that. And because when we look at the stress that the taxpayers goes through in terms of the assessment, because a lot of taxpayers, because of the assessment, they really need a good tax manager like Taxiade, and even with the automation, because it has to be programmed, and so a professional have to design that. So, and I'm very sure that within the next 2-3 years to this time, all those processes should be automated. But I'm aware that a lot of our tax professionals have their own inbuilt automation system that enables them to run the assessment for each of their clients. So, and that is the situation at now with the federal level and the state level.
All right, Mr. Ugwuanyi, you want to add to that?
Yes, please. I just want to quickly add to what my colleagues have said. I'll first jump on how the taxpayers can avoid these penalties. Yeah, we are very much aware that most of these HNIs and individuals, including companies, are not much aware of what to do and at what time. So in this regard, the best way to avoid the penalty is to look out for a good tax manager who will guide you through this process. Over the periods, we have noticed that some people pay penalties that are triple of their taxes, and this is because they are not aware of what to do and at what time. So I will advise the listeners to get a proper advice from a good tax manager like Taxaide to assist them within this period. As you all know that the first quarter 2021 will be a very interesting year, because you know that the 2020 has been dragged by the COVID-19. So the tax people will always try to make up of what was lost. So that's the way forward and how to prevent it.
Yeah. Mr. Mustapha, I wanted to add something to that as well.
Yes, as well. I want to add something to that. And, we've been talking of the compliance process in terms of the taxes that is needed to be paid. Just like Emmanuel and Jeenifer have said, our focus should really work towards how will I avoid the penalties, the punishment that result from not being compliant in this case. When I was discussing about the automation for the tax assessment, and before assessment will come in, there must be a kind of level of remittances that will come. You must have remitted. Then what you have remitted at the point in time, like our focus is towards on before July 31st for pay as you earn filing, which every employer stands as an agent of the government to remit the employees tax deducted for the period of every month or monthly basis for the period of 12 months in 2020, which will be filed to the relevant tax authority. So before the filing will come in, before the assessment will come in, there must be a level of compliance in respect of remittances. So in that remittances, I understand that most taxpayers already find it difficult for remitting those taxes, either payee or CIT, WAC, or VAT, as the case may be. But the good thing is that Taxaide, as we are providing a sustainable solution to taxpayers in Nigeria and the world as a whole, we have our automation system. We have our CTAB that is on our company income tax application, where it enables every taxpayer to remit seamlessly. There's no stress attached to that. And even in terms of remittances of payee, of monthly deductions from the employee, you actually, so we have a system for CTAB for remittance of payee on monthly basis. So I think instead of going to bank to queue for that, Taxaide has a system that we call PITA that enables you. It's an automated system that enables a taxpayer to pay at ease. So at the hand of government, government's own is to receive the revenue into their own purse. But Taxaide, just like I've said, that providing a sustainable solution to taxpayers. So we have an automated system that can enable relevant taxpayers to pay either, in terms of the monthly obligation for payee, all CIT.
Right. Well, just like Mr. Emenike said, we are living in a very interesting time with the coronavirus, COVID-19. Surely, it must have had some effect on, taxation, both with filing, remittances, collections, and all of that. What are some of these, effects the pandemic have had on, taxation, either filing or, otherwise?
Okay, let's.
All right. Thank you once again. Yeah, if you notice, at the beginning of the pandemic, we quickly went into lockdown. And as we entered the lockdown, it affected the economic activities of everyone. So we have transactional taxes. It made the transactional taxes where something like VAT to drop instantly, and the withholding taxes. So the pandemic was not a good experience for the government in terms of tax. So when we jumped into the pandemic, the whole process of tax collection and tax processes was like it collapsed because they relied majorly on physical contacts. The audit processes were on hold for like 2 months. The tax assessment processes were still on hold for those periods because the officers need to come to the office and do the necessary paperwork and raise assessments. Just like Ayodeji said, there is no major impact in terms of assessment raising. So this actually affected the government revenue within those periods. So the pandemic was it lasted for over 6 months, and even from monitoring the revenue of companies, you will see that in 2020 the major tax heads will drop because the company income tax affected it because it depends on the income. The transactional taxes was also affected, and even the personal income tax, because you notice that a lot of companies were not able to pay at that point, and that means the states were not able to collect necessary taxes on the personal income tax. So generally, the pandemic had a lot of negative effects on the general public and likewise the taxes that are due to be collected. So at this point, I just need to say that the pandemic, even though we hope that to come out from it as soon as possible, because we still hear that there will be a lot of other maybe reopening of isolation centers, but we hope that in a short time this will be a thing of the past. But it had a lot of negative impacts on the revenue of the government. Thank you so much.
We don't have enough people under the tax net right now. Quite a number of them, are owners of their own businesses, and I think that's practically part of the problem, or maybe challenges, not to call it a problem. And personally, I think government maybe is not doing enough in terms of penalties, to really let people be aware or scare them into paying their taxes, which means that, and the more people know or are aware or know that they have to pay their taxes, the more people like Taxaide, companies like Taxaide, will have too much to do. So because if you look at countries like the United Kingdom, taxation, paying your taxes is as sure as you will die. If you don't pay your taxes, it's as sure as death.
Definitely.
Yeah. I recall when they wanted to. The government had been looking to prosecute this Chicago gangster way back in the 40s, Al Capone, for death and for murder and bootlegging, selling of illegal alcohol, and they couldn't get him. And the next thing they did was to, look at his books, and then they got his accountant and they charged him for tax evasion. And, that was how he was put in prison. But here in Nigeria, I think a lot of people have gotten away with blue murder in terms of, not paying our taxes, which is it an issue of lack of trust because that's what a lot of people say that, the ones that we've paid, we can't really see what government is doing with it. Is that why we are not having enough as much as we should in terms of getting more people to pay the taxes? Because I don't think government, in my own opinion, is doing enough to, even if it's to scare people into paying their taxes. I don't know who wants to tackle that one.
Let me come into that. Thank you, Bimbo. I think there were a lot of reasons why so much Nigerians have not really been in the tax net. I think one of the specific reasons, just like I've said, that before government can come about enforcement, our misunderstanding about taxes or taxations needed to be corrected. I can tell you emphatically that we still have about 30% of Nigerians that do not even know what is tax or taxations. Let me just quickly chip in this. I think last week somebody called me that, please, Ayodeji, do you have a tax card, a tax clearance certificate, that you don't want to use it for the son in the school? Okay, like that person, I told the person that, okay, all he just needs to do is go on self-assessment. Self-assessment is where you declare a certain income, your worth. Then a task, a task is completed. A review will be done to see how much of the gross income or the income you have declared. I must let you know that for these taxes that we're talking about, it's a compulsory levy to every citizen of Nigeria, which also applies to other countries. Like US that you have made a reference to, they actually enforce it because it's just like their daily food, and once the daily food is not provided, there's going to be a problem. So in our government here, they are trying, but they need to put more effort because a lot of awareness have not really gone around. Some people does not really know. Someone that does not really know about taxation, is it the person that's going to pay the tax? So there should be a kind of machinery in place that people should go for the officials of the government, either the federal level, the state level, or the local level, should engage in sensitizations, awareness, because most people misconception about taxes is that is it every Nigerians or every citizens that needed to pay? But the law says that every income and must be subject to taxation. Either you are a market woman, either you are a business owner, either you are an employee. Everybody is meant to pay certain amount of tax to the government. But another reasons is that the reasons why people does not really want to pay taxes because the feedback that they get from government in terms of fixing bad roads, water, and so on and so forth. So these are, I think, are some of the reasons why people misunderstand in the issue of taxes in Nigeria. So on the aspect of government, like you have just said about the enforcement on the penalties. So I think government needs to do more. Government needs to do more in that aspect. After I was talking about the awareness, because the penalty that is paid is a penalty that comes is usually 10% specifically on the late or on late payments in terms of payee now. So that penalty, if it enforced, I could remember during our file last time, the former FRS Shia boss. I think that was when we came about this issue of VAT. They even went ahead to collide with the bank, making the bank as a collecting agent to freeze companies' accounts for those who have been defaulting. There was a defaulters list that was published at that point in time, and we could see the responses that came from that. And a lot of revenues, a lot of people who were brought into the tax net during that period. But I think they did that for a certain time and they put a stop to that. I can tell you, even both individuals and the corporates, a lot of them are not still on tax net. So there should be a kind of enforcement. So if there is an enforcement to that effect, like what happened, the freezing of account and the rest, people will be forced to oblige to payment of taxes. Even to an individual, when it's checked that okay, the bank where you keep your money, they easily, with the issue of the BVN, they knows what is your account. They have your detailed information. If you are an employee in a company or you are a self-employed person, they can easily see. And through the information on your BVN, they can easily know those who are on the tax net and those who are not on the tax net. Then they can now go after those who are not on the tax net by making any kind of enforcement, a kind of setting up a kind of machineries that will subject everyone into the tax payments.
Mr. Ugwuanyi, you are going to add to that as well?
Yes, just quickly, we know that the resources at the disposal of the government is one of the challenges that they have in implementing some of this. Government have been doing a lot of government conscious efforts to ensure that the people at the grassroots and the market women pay their taxes. So, but the issue there is how are they assessed? So, when it comes to how it's being assessed, the government have actually decided to do like a pool assessment, and they also have what they call informal sector. Like the state have come up with this strategy to carve out a niche called informal sector. And informal sector is just a way to reach out to those that are not working with the structured organizations. So they are communicated. Maybe, for example, go to Alaba Market, they talk to their leaders, and then they can issue an assessment to Alaba Market. Alaba Market will now go in, determine how each person pays. Can be flat rate, 5,000, and they pay those taxes to the government. So when it comes to the challenges, why people feel reluctant to pay their taxes in Nigeria, there are a lot of reasons. So, for example, interactions in some of the areas I have went, and even where I stay, people feel they are their own government. So people feel that there is no reason to pay tax.
Yeah, when you fill your own portals, you have your generator, that's your own NEPA, you build your bowl, you have your own water corporation.
Yes, you provide your own security.
Then you have some guy at the gate, that's your security.
So most of those people, there is nothing you will tell them that you are paying this money for, and they will not listen to you. So I think government have a lot to do by ensuring that the taxes people pay, that they see it as a feedback from the social amenities. And that's the only way that a lot of people will be encouraged to pay tax in Nigeria.
Yeah, we're a bit pressed for time, but I'm just going to ask this one last question. It's a general overview of what an individual or organization's 2021 tax strategy should be like. What do you think, going into 2021 now, especially, when you consider how well 2020 has been? What do you think, an individual or organization's tax strategy should be, going into the coming year?
Okay, thanks, Bimbo. Like every organization is wiping down, they are wrapping up for 2020. And in few days will be in 2021. So like my colleagues have addressed, everybody should be drawing up their timetable on how to comply. So like the task calendar she mentioned, to make sure your strategy is right, you have to be in the good books of the government in 2021. And how do you make sure you are in that good book? Is to make sure that all your compliances are gotten right, starting from the PIT, from the pay returns, which is due on or before the 31st of January 2021. So every organization should be looking at which point am I supposed to comply with what. In the month of January, which compliances am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to comply with the pay returns. I'm supposed to comply with my VAT. I'm supposed to comply with my WHT. Currently, we are very much aware that FRS have given extension till the end of the month before you can pay those things. Will this continue? How is my cash flow projection going to be to meet up with these obligations? So in February and March, which is PIT returns, am I ready for that? In June, for company income tax, transfer pricing, capital gains tax, am I ready for that? Have I started making preparation for my auditors to come in as early as January to make sure that my records are properly audited and put in place? Because that is one of the things that will drag your compliance, because you will be making an estimation for most of your taxes instead of the actual tax. So in drawing up your strategy for 2021, these are the things that you put on your table. Your compliance date should be your Bible at all time for you to be able to be in the good books of the government in 2021. Thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Mustapha.
Yeah. I think Emineke have said a lot of things about that. Just like I will start from where you stopped. The compliance date, respective date, should be your Bible. At least to Christians, they don't joke with their Bibles, as well as the Muslim, they don't joke with their Quran. So, in that case, we've been talking about penalties since morning in the context of this. In order to avoid that, I think Taxaide, as our tax managers, tax professionals, we assist taxpayer to to put straight their books. Because I can tell you that when you check the record in the respective relevant tax authority, IRS, you will see that a lot of people, close to 70-80%, 2-3 days, even the last day, to filing of the payee, that is when they will be rushing. And I've seen cases, in fact, the last one that were filed, I think with the report that we have at Alausa, a lot of technical issue because it's through e-filings. And, the kind of the processes involved in filing online. So some taxpayers would definitely need people like Taxiade who can be able to enable them to in the process. So just like I've said before, that we provide a sustainable tax solutions to people at large. So it is quite necessary now that we have few days to 2021, and every taxpayer that want to keep their books straight with the relevant tax authority needs a good planner. So, because there's this adage that says that when you fail to plan, you now plan to fail. So it is necessary, because those penalties are inevitable. They are inevitable if you fail to comply within the stipulated time, which is for payee now, on or before 31st of January 2021. It's going to attract a penalty of 500,000. So let's now see in the cases where we have a total staff cost that is even less than 500,000 for the total staff. Maybe they have 2 employees, 3 employees, and the total salary which they need to file is not up to 500,000. And at the end of the day, because of negligence or they don't really know the processes involved, they default. Paying 500,000, which is even at high cost downward, so it does not really make sense. So that is why that we are saying to the entire Nigerians that should anyone needs to straighten their books ahead of the filing, I think they can reach out to people like Taxiade who will be able to assist them to put straight their record. So, and this is what I need to say to the Nigerians in this regards. Penalty is sure. Government will definitely hit the taxpayer who default on that. So, and to avoid that, we need to put or prepare ahead of that. Is very important.
Very, very important. Thank you so very much for helping us shed light on a lot of taxation issues, all the gray areas. Well, a number of them, I believe, they are quite late now, and anyone listening that's listening live or will listen to the podcast after will after this not have an excuse, I think, at the end of this. So we've been speaking to Mr. Ayodeji Mustapha, Emmanuel Ugwuanyi, and Jeenifer Ezediaro, all of Taxaide, and we've been talking about your 2021 tax strategy. 2020 has been a very, very interesting and challenging year. You do not want, to start 2021, without being prepared as to what will come, in terms of taxes. It's been bad enough. Don't let, government slam you with a penalty when 2021 starts.